Hello, welcome to Locked on Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite team in the Bay Area. On today's episode, good Swedish friend Patrik Bexell joins the show to discuss one Otto Stenberg. So we talk about Stenberg, his strengths, his weaknesses, kind of why he feels like a low ceiling, high floor type of player, kind of a glue guy. So we talk about him. And at the end, we talk about some Leo Carlsson. So all that and more on today's episode of Locked on Sharks.
You're Locked on Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm your host, JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now, and I want to thank you for making Locked on Sharks your first listen. You can follow along or subscribe for free wherever you get podcasts, and of course, you can watch this bad boy on YouTube as well, where the episodes kind of come out first. So, sorry about the change of plans. This was originally supposed to drop on Tuesday, but wanted to do the trade deadline or the trade talk, really kind of dive into that, made it 2 parts. So that's all Tuesday. So you want to give Patrik his time to shine, so especially having to set up things with him being in Sweden. But fun conversation with Patrik as we talk about Otto Stenberg and why, kind of feels like a very, very safe pick because he's going to be an NHL caliber player, but maybe not as high of a ceiling as some of the other guys in that range. So before we get into it with Patrik, do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you guys by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. We've all been there. All right. And now we bring in Patrik Bexell of the revamped Eyes on the Prize 2.0. Patrik, how's it going, buddy?
No, we're fine. We're fine in that way. And I had some garden work yesterday, so my body is sore like I played a hockey game.
That's what happens when you get older, buddy. It's everything gets sore quicker, and I'm there too. I mean, we went to Zion, and it took me like 3 days to feel normal again, and that was like a little half-mile hike up the hill. So yeah, I feel you there. So someone who's not dealing with the issues we are, one Otto Stenberg. Young 17-year-old, he has the world in front of him at least when it comes to peak physical condition. So Otto Stenberg, forward, played for Frölunda, 5'11", 181 pounds. In the SHL this year, played 23 games, did have a goal, 2 assists, and 10 shots on goal. In his junior, he way more points. Again, a 17-year-old playing in the SHL is something to be commended. So let's start with the big question: why is Otto Stenberg such an intriguing prospect?
I think it comes down to a lot of different things, because sometimes I feel he's the jack of all trades, but king of none. Mm-hmm. But I would say, hockey sense is there. I mean, that's excellent. He obviously plays for Frölunda, as you mentioned, and this is something that is high up on Roger Rönnberg's, the coach in Frölunda, on his agenda when it comes to picking up players. So I think that way it's a lot hinges on that. Can you adapt to the pro system? Can you adapt to the system in the pro team? Can you adapt to playing against men, etc., etc.? And so hockey sense is there. It's definitely there. The other thing is, because I have some contact with the under 18 teams, obviously, because it's Frölunda and it's next doors. Excuse me. Is that I think that, or I've gotten the impression from a couple of them, that he is a leader of the ice. And that is also something that a lot of GMs would look into and understand. And he is a good guy in the locker room. He's a leader in the locker room. He's a leader on the ice. and I think that makes him stand out, even if the others things that he has, the qualities that he has, they are really, really good, but they're not excellent. But those two lifts him up to that, first round area where he's about to go, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned he's leader. He's the captain of the U18 team that's playing right now as we're speaking. And we know that stuff is catnip to GMs, right? That like, just you want to bring a good guy into the locker room. You don't want to have a problem child. He seems like a guy like that. So you mentioned he's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. You talk about his hockey IQ kind of being his big thing. What about physically? I mean, what type of skater is he? Like, what type of player would the Sharks be getting if they drafted him, end of the first, beginning of the second round?
I think that when you look at Otto Stenberg, you got to realize this is a guy you leave for another couple of games in Europe, or a couple of seasons in Europe. He needs to develop. He needs to find his footing first and foremost. Even if you take him in the first round and you can bring him over to the AHL, I think it's a very smart move to let him stay in Frölunda. You have the under 8. Well, he can't play in the under 18s, but he can play in the under 20s, and he can play in the senior team in the pro level. And those are interchangeable. You don't need to move cities. You don't need to move towns. You don't need to do that. You don't have to. Okay, when we move you down, we can't move you up. You can move up and down as many times as you want. So I think that is a beneficial thing to do. But he's really good on the skates. He is a little. I mean, like, his shot is really good. It's fast. It's accurate. It's a wrist shot. The slap shot is a little bit. How do you say? It's not hidden, so it's out there. It's announced. And I think that really hurts him in that regard, especially on the power play. You want someone with a fast release, with a strong slap shot, but a wrister would do its good thing as well. One of the guys I spoke with, he said he's not a great passer, at least not to me, but it might have to do with I'm on the bench when he plays. There seems to be a good group of under 18s in Frölunda, at least. But yeah, when you can make jokes like that, and it also shows, I think, that the leadership qualities again, that he allows others to make fun of him, and I think that's really, really good. He's really, as you've seen in the under 18s, people have who has watched it. He's great with the puck. He has the vision. He has the hockey IQ. He can analyze the game. He can pass. He can shoot. He can deke. It's all in there. His weakness, if we move on to that, is probably he's not as good without the puck.
Okay.
He's I wouldn't say bad, but he's not as good in finding those open spaces. He want to deliver the puck to the open spaces instead. So to search for them maybe, or in that regard, I think it's something that comes as well.
Yeah.
I've only watched him in SHL, and I haven't watched Frölunda as much this year because obviously we have the second goalie in Frölunda is drafted by Montreal, Frölunda Gao, but obviously Adam Engström in Rögle had a standout season, and he was drafted in the third round, and yeah, there's a lot of teams that is going to be a little bit upset that they didn't take him in any of the previous rounds. But yeah, I mean, he played on average 17 minutes. He got a little bit more in the 7 minutes. He got a little bit more in the playoffs, actually, because Frölunda was down a couple of men, and Roger Rönnberg is never afraid to put the juniors out there, so that was good. I think he will adjust. Frölunda good. It's a very good development club, especially for forwards, especially for smart forwards. So I think that is also something that you would put under the strength.
All right, guys, before we continue talking about Otto Stenberg, and then we talk some Leo Carlsson at the end, I do need to take a quick break. Let you guys know about our friends over at Gametime. Right now, summertime is the perfect time to start, going out and going to events again. And you know how annoying buying tickets can be. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is fast and easy way to buy tickets to all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you with killer deals on last-minute tickets. Their best price guarantee can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Especially right now, we have Warriors basketball playoffs. You know, you got Giants back in action. Plenty of concerts going on this summer. Gametime is the place, especially for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Get images of your seat before you even buy. That way you know what the view is going to look like. Nothing worse than getting a bad view from your seats. So tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. So snag the tickets without the stress. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, so it seems like he's going to be kind of that perfect glue guy on a line, right? Whereas, like, if you need someone who can kind of be like your puck transition guy, it sounds like he can do that. If you need someone to kind of, you know, just whatever you need, it feels like he can kind of be a perfectly good glue guy for a line. So is that kind of the perfect way to describe him?
Yeah, I think, and I haven't seen him enough in the under 18s or under 20s that, you know, question is, can he do it on the box play or penalty kill, as you guys say? Mm-hmm. Because that would make him higher up in the pecking order.
Yeah.
Yeah. It remains to be seen. It's something that I would assume he will have to learn next year. You want him there as well because he's shifty. He skates again very, very well. So, you know, it's smart to have him on something where you can get a breakaway or create some havoc and in order to get that, and just in one way to transition the puck out of the zone and get the others to change. That is also important. I would look for him to do that next year, either in the under 20s or with Frölunda in the senior team. I think that would be very beneficial for him. Also, maybe to quarterback the power play a little bit. I think those are the two things that, you know, mainly he needs to work on, except for his physique, because obviously he's, as you say, what is he, 180 and
yeah,
and the towel. So you know, build up some muscles, and let's be honest, Frölunda has one of the best off-season programs in Sweden, so I'm quite sure that he's in good hands, and a lot of the NHL players come back and work with a physics guy, personal trainer guy, in order to be ready for next year's NHL. So I think it's the progress is always going to be there, and you know it's good because it will develop faster as well. Dahlin said, you know, I spoke with him, was it 2 years ago, when he was home over summer, and we looked at Frölunda practice, and I said, do you miss it? And he was like, not really. But on the other hand, that is what got me through and got me going to never have to play an AHL game. So yeah.
Yeah. So all right. So let's talk about Stenberg, kind of his ceiling. So I'm assuming kind of picture kind of tops out as a middle six guy, maybe a second line type of guy. Again, kind of whatever you need type of player. But what do you think? Kind of the same thing, you know, maybe like a 40, 50 point guy if everything goes right for him?
I think in some ways he's very sure to make the NHL. But on the other hand, I think 40, 50 points is quite high. I think the ceiling is probably lower.
Okay.
And the question is what you do with that, you know, late first round pick or early second pick. What do you go for? Someone that you know will make it, or someone that you has a lot of upside on one end and you might have to coach into the other end, you know? And I think this is where you look at which GM is going to pick him. What do they feel comfortable with? In a way, we come back to this. Are you in a retool? Or are you in a classic rebuild, or
full
are you
rebuild? Yeah,
yeah, or are you one of those teams that kept your first or early second round pick in order to be able to pick a player that will have an impact maybe 3 years down the line?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think for the Sharks, like you have pick number 4 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Leo. We're fingers crossed, Leo Carlsson. That's where I'm leaning right now. So
I'm watching the Czechia-Sweden game, just so you guys know if I'm making.
So and then you have a late second round pick or a late first round pick with the Devils pick, and then a second round or early high second round with your own pick. So like getting a guy like Stenberg, where it's like, you're not hitting a home run with him, but you're getting a single, you're getting a double, you're getting on base type of player with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be in the NHL in a couple of years. That feels like a solid draft, right? If you have Carlson, who is going to be amazing, you get Stenberg, and then maybe you can take a swing with a guy who falls a little bit with your second pick, with your second round pick. That's a pretty solid start, I think. So.
Yeah, and you might even do it the other way around. We saw a little bit what Montreal did last year with having a late first round pick, picking Filip Bystedt. Maybe a little bit early, maybe a little bit, right where he should have been. But the question was, they were pretty cool in order to keep Owen Beck on the table, and we were all crazy about that. For a few days or for a few hours to the next day when we got Owen Beck anyway. But I think, in some ways you draft them also because you have full control. Because it is... wait, did it go in? No, it didn't. And I think the fact is that you have total control. Because you draft him in the first round, you can bring him over to the AHL if you want to.
Yep.
I think that was
an underlying thing with the new SHL NHL agreement is, if you draft a guy in the first round.
It's been like that for a couple of years. Yeah. Let's be honest.
but now I guess is a more set in stone or whatever. But it feels like, if you get a guy in the second round, like the SHL team has full say on full stop of like, no, we don't want to send him over type of situation, right?
No, you can send him over. You can still ask him to come over, but you can only make the NHL team.
So you cannot
send him you cannot kick him down to AHL or juniors if you wanted, but you can do that if he's drafted in the first round. So that might raise Leo Carlsson's stock a little bit, that you want to have that control. On the other hand, with Leo Carlsson, do you need that control?
No, but Stenberg is a perfect example of a guy who, maybe you let him play for a couple of years, bring him over. You want him to play in the AHL, get used to the North American ice, all that fun stuff, and then have him in your city if you need him, type of situation right away.
I said Leo Carlsson because I've just written a draft profile about him as well. So. But obviously, Leo Carlsson will go. I quite assume he will go over. Completely. But yeah, Stenberg is do you need that? No, you can leave him in SHL. You don't have to rush him. And it's those top 5 pick you might want to go over. Bystedt was different. Again, going back to the Montreal situation, he didn't have a contract in Europe. So you could bring him over anyway. And he wanted, I've got a couple of good sources that I know he wanted to play in Europe. And then he got sent to juniors. And, he struggled with the transition to North American ice, and that's understandable. Also living alone or living in a foreign country and stuff like that, and that make it. We all come back to Puljujärvi in a way. You take a guy top 5, you bring him over, you want him to make the NHL team, you give him the chance to do that, or you put him in the AHL. What the team should do in that regard, especially since Kekalainen actually passed on the Finnish guy, he must have had some knowledge.
Yeah.
And actually, we know that someone translated for him in the World Juniors just a couple of weeks before. His English wasn't good. You leave him in Finland, give him an English teacher, say you study English for an extra hour every day.
Yep.
When you come over a year later, you're good. You're comfortable. You make sure he also learns how to handle his internet banking and stuff like that, and make sure that he knows how to handle money, knows how to set up a bank account, everything sorted out. And I think, Otto is smart. So it's in that regard, I know his English is really good and stuff like that. But it could be beneficial to have him play, pro hockey where he's comfortable, where he's home as well.
Yep.
And as he's played, he's been on the roster for 26 games and 27 games in SHL already. That's a strength. Even if Frölunda struggled this year, they finished 6th in the league, and reached the CHL semifinal. We as fans have sometimes quite high expectations on them.
All right. Last question before we kind of shift into some other draft talk. So his timeline, right? You say 3 to 4 years, probably somewhere in that range before he's making an NHL impact. And then I kind of wanted to talk about him versus Bystedt, right? So the Sharks drafted Bystedt at the end of the first round last year, 27th pick. Probably going to be the same range. How would you compare the two players? So I know Bystedt's a much bigger guy. It was kind of thought as a bit of a reach when the Sharks picked him at 27, but he had a really great season this year in the SHL. I think World Juniors kind of opened a lot of eyes for Sharks fans in general. How would you kind of compare the two players?
I think, you mentioned Bystedt is not one size bigger, but rather two.
He's a little bit bigger.
But I think also what is similar is their leadership qualities. I'll be honest with that. I think those are paramount in this regard. Bystedt has a much better overall shot, precision, projection, and power. Whereas I think how much I need to check about it. Yeah, so 20 points, 45 games. That's pretty decent. He was on an absolute atrocious team this year. Let's be honest about that as well. They struggled for most of the season. They were in the relegation zone. So I'm very impressed with what he has done, and I think his transition into the North American game with the size, with everything, it's going to be much smoother. He's so much more projectable in that area. I think also, let's say they don't work out as centers. Oh, Sweden scored. Was it Stenberg? Please say it was. But it's when you go, you can move them to wing. But in one guy, you have a typical Swedish winger, 185, works his ass off, hockey IQ, stuff like that. Whereas in the other, you have a very good power forward that can substitute into center if you need it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that Otto Stenberg can be a center at NHL level.
Okay, makes sense. I mean, just wanted to get your comparison because they're both kind of in the same range. The Sharks. We know the Sharks love themselves some Swedes, having picked Swedes in the past couple drafts and with their first round picks, and I think they're going to be doing it again this year.
It's a bit smart, I think, because if you take from the pro leagues, you already have a pro analysis. It doesn't matter if it's Finland or Czechia or Switzerland or Slovakia or Russia either. You have data as a pro guy.
Yeah, you've seen them play against grown men, like even if they're 17, 18-year-old kids playing against grown men, you've seen it compared to, like in juniors where they're playing against other kids their same age. And yeah, it makes sense, right? These guys are all professional athletes that you're playing against. So you can kind of see, yes, this projects type of situation.
Yeah, and also they know what they need to do to get there.
All right, thanks for making Locked On Sharks your first listen every day. Every day is tomorrow on the show. We're going to be talking about David Quinn as we continue Mike Grier week. I'm going to talk about the Sharks head coach that Mike Grier hired, his kind of personal pick to take over for Bob Boughner. So we're going to be looking at how the Sharks are better and worse under David Quinn and kind of what we've learned from Quinn, especially compared to his Rangers days as well. So plenty of fun stuff to dive into. And then Friday, we're going to be looking at Mike Grier's first draft class and kind of looking at how those guys' first year went. So, and of course, revisiting the trade down from 11 to 27 and how that has worked out for the Sharks. So plenty of stuff. Make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch this on YouTube as well. All right. Wanted to ask, so brought up Leo Carlsson earlier. I think we'll see with the Sharks being the 4th pick right now heading into the draft. We've heard a lot of buzz, especially Bedard just being Bedard, right? And then Fantilli had an amazing second half of the season. Michkov had an amazing second half of his season. Leo Carlsson had an amazing playoffs. So give us a lowdown on Leo Carlsson's playoffs and like what kind of the second half of the season for Leo Carlsson.
I'll be honest, I don't have his numbers right in front of me, and I remember I need to check this because I'm going to put it in the article. So really good question. I think he actually led his team in scoring in the playoffs. So or he was up there at least if he was top
in 13 games. He had 1 goal, 8 assists, 9 points with a plus minus of +8 if you're in a plus minus. Which plus
and
minus.
You need to know he played on the junior line, and in the semifinal the junior line was they carried Örebro, absolutely carried them. It's on my Twitter feed. Feel free to use it if you want to. It's going to be in the Leo Carlsson profile coming out as well. He makes this transitional play, and he's so big, and he has that control and that reach and those hands, and he just crosses the zone crosses the blue line into the zone and drops the pass. Most of us hasn't even realized that there is his forward partner is coming behind him. And it's a goal, like he opens the lane, good deke, lifts it up over the backhand with a backhand, really, really good. At least I think it was a backhand. But yeah, this is the thing. His vision, his hockey IQ, it just stood out. It's really funny because Rögle had a junior leading their team. Örebro had a junior or 2 juniors leading their team. It was crazy when you think about it. Like, and Frölunda obviously played a junior line as well, and they were pretty damn good. And I think it's all that giving these juniors the chance, even in the playoffs, and he stepped up in a big way. I really think we've spoken on this on another podcast, and you asked, skill-wise, there is no chance that Fantilli or Carlson is at the same level as Michkov.
Yeah,
skill-wise. There's other factors with Michkov, and
yes,
I really, my condolences to his whole family about what has happened. But skill-wise, he's up there. The question is the Russian factor or the Russian war factor. But Leo Carlsson, consolidation prize, right? That's one element. And Fantilli is going to end up there as well, even if Michkov might be the one that falls the furthest to 4th. At one point or another, you grab him, because if he comes over in 25, 26, who's going to win the Calder that year.
Yeah, he's going to step on the ice and he's going to be like an 80 point. He's going to be like a point per game player as soon as he steps on the ice.
And then also, you have him on an entry-level contract for 3 years, with obviously all bonuses kicking in. We know that. But
yes, yeah, just schedule those in. Yeah,
but so you get a full-blown player, fully capable, just going on. It's fine. It's not that. But Leo Carlsson's season, it took not 1 step forward, but 2. He's not part of the under-18 team because he's with the men's national team at the moment. This is how good he is.
And he was playing first line center, wasn't he? I think, right?
He was lined up as first line center, but but yeah, my bet is knowing Sam Hallam and who's the Swedish national team coach, he will make it into the national team. You don't bring in a junior for 4 games. You make sure to know which players he will work best with, and that's what you do. Really, really, I mean, like, he showcased everything. He showcased his defensive acumen. He showcased his power forward acumen. There's been a lot of talk about him not being a center. He will be a center, but worst comes to worst, you put him on on the wing and have 2 great centers on the same line.
Yep.
I was mainly impressed with his vision, first and foremost, finding players, finding players in space. But then also I was very impressed with his defensive play at that level in the playoffs, where it's physical, where it's dirty, where it's gritty. Really, those things that you might not value or see in the highlight reels, those were the ones that stood out.
All right, we'll get you out of here. Last question. One, where does Otto Stenberg go in the draft?
I'll say he goes in between 27 and 32.
That would be right around where the Sharks are picking, most likely. So, and then finally, it's the last time I asked you who's the best Bedard player in the draft 5 years from now, and I believe you said Michkov.
I said superstar. I think I said Bedard will be so good.
Yes, I say
Michkov will have the highlight reel.
Yeah, non-Bedard factor, because we all know Bedard's going to be amazing. So,
but I think actually Michkov can challenge him in if it comes to highlight reels.
Highlight reels.
Yeah, not maybe the it will be Ovechkin versus Crosby in a little bit. You got the highlight, like you got the slap shots, you got the everything there on a winger that you want. With Michkov, you got everything in the center that you want with Bedard, and more probably with Bedard.
Yes.
But yeah.
All right. So, which guy 5 years from now are we talking about who is like a late first, beginning of second? Which guy are we talking about that's like, how did he end up here? Who's that going to be that guy for you?
I'm not sure actually right now in that range, but I think one of the guys we will speak about that's going to be a steal of the draft is going to be Felix Nilsson, playing for Rögle, under 18s, under 20s, and men's team.
Okay. Where is he kind of projected right now?
I think McKean's is the highest, so he's in the second round now.
Okay.
But a lot of us are liking what we see. I know Elite Prospects guy, Jimmy really likes him. I know some of the Finnish guys for McKean's likes him. I know some of the Slovak guys in McKean's, obviously because I used to work there, likes him. I like him.
That's all that matters if Patrik likes him.
No, but I went to this game. Rögle was atrocious, and Engström was obviously atrocious as well. Let's be honest about that. But with the one guy that stood out and probably had the best game of everyone, they went down 7-3. I think it was, and it was Felix Nilsson, and he made his SHL debut, I think, and he was outstanding. I think this is the guy that you don't realize because he hasn't been featured.
Mm.
And that's the thing. And then obviously Rögle being Rögle, they vacuum clean talent now and succeeds with everything because the players there think they are good at development, but they have that confidence that they are, and they will actually just improve with that. I think Felix Nilsson, he might fall into third again, but yeah, because he's not part. Is he? I don't think he's part of the under 18s now, but he's one of those guys that you can, a little bit like Adam Engström. A year later, you go like, how did he drop to the third?
All right, you said all, Patrik. Where can the people find you?
Well, you find me, as you said, Eyes on the Prize 2.0. Sometimes I'm a guest with you. Sometimes I'm a guest at the Blue Jackets. And
Jay,
Scott doesn't like me, so
that's fair.
I'm never on Montreal's.
Yeah, Scott's too much of a coward. He's afraid you're just going to come in and take his job. So that's
no, I don't think so. Him and Laura are doing an amazing job. So is Jay, and so are you. So I'm not going to say anything negative.
I'll tell them in the group chat. So
I'm so impressed with you guys doing this every day and getting guests, getting subjects, everything. I'm super impressed. I find it hard to do that two times a week.
Yeah, we're getting to crazy season now where you're trying to come up with stuff. So, but yeah. So, Patrik, thank you so much for your time. We'll talk to you again soon, buddy. Enjoy under 18s.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Patrik. Always great to have Patrik on. He's the best, especially him watching Team Sweden during the game. So, kept those in there just because I thought it was funny, his reactions. So, but Stenberg, I think, again, like I said, he feels like a very, very safe pick. Like, exactly what you're getting. Perfect kind of glue guy, can be whatever you need him to be on whatever line. So if you need him to kind of, shoot, if you need him to kind of be your fortune, whatever you need from Stenberg, he has the hockey IQ to kind of do that. Again, not the highest of upsides. So be interesting to see if he's there, what the Sharks do, especially if, you get a Carlson or whoever you get with your first pick. And then if maybe you take a swing with the Devils pick on a guy with crazy upside, and then you pick Stenberg, who feels like, again, like exactly what you're getting in type of situation. So interesting prospect. We will see where he kind of lands. So thank you guys for checking out Locked On Sharks. If you're new to the draft stuff, we do at least one draft profile a week throughout, from now until the draft. And as we get close to the draft, we'll start cranking out a couple more a week. So, yeah, you can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Locked On Sharks. You can follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole. Again, thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Follow, subscribe wherever you get podcasts. If you're on Apple, please leave a review. Makes me feel good inside. So until tomorrow, bye, friends.